Ladies and gentlemen, I'm very pleased to be here, and I apologize for the lateness. Yeah, Professor Taumann, okay, visited me on Thursday, okay, and the purpose of the visit was, he said, how should I introduce you? Okay. So I said to him, Yair, you can do me a big honor. You can please me if you just introduce me by saying, ladies and gentlemen, Israel, אומן. Okay. But he doesn't think that was sufficient. And what should I do? Yeah, what should I do? He disagreed with me, yes. At most, I would have said, Israel, אומן needs no introduction. But apparently, Professor Taumann, Yair Taumann, thinks that Israel, אומן does need an introduction. Okay, so let me take out my notes. So first of all, congratulations, happy birthday. Happy birthday to you, IDC. Yom ההולדת, that's what I understand, yes? So happy birthday, and this is really an extraordinary institution. And what makes it so extraordinary, it's its uniqueness. It's a uniqueness on the scene of Israeli higher education, and it really epitomizes the subject of my talk, yes, competition in higher education. All the other institutions except, well, no, more or less all the other institutions of higher learning in Israel. Well, I mean, I'll get to this. We have a lot of colleges. We have a lot of what are called מכללות, yes, a lot of colleges that are not, I don't think they grant a PhD degree. By the way, does the IDC grant a PhD? Okay. So all the other PhD granting institutions, they form sort of one, of one shape, of one form. IDC is different, so it's the beginning of what I'm talking about. Competition in higher education, and specifically, I would like to congratulate Professor Uriel Reichman, who had this idea and founded this great institution, and kol hakavod, how does one say it in English? Okay. So, congratulations. And let me talk a little bit about competition. First, we'll talk about competition, then we'll talk about competition in higher education. The reason I want to talk a little about competition, I'm going to take off my hearing aids, because when I wear my hearing aids, I don't talk loud enough. It amplifies my own voice. Yes? I'll put them back on for the questions and answers. Yes? But okay. So now, a competition is not something that's obvious, okay? It's not something, I think, that was explicitly understood. People have competed ever since the dawn of civilization, and in fact, before the dawn of civilization. Young lady, could I ask you to take pictures? I'll stand here. Take your pictures, and then stop. Okay, I'll wait. Go ahead. Okay, thank you very much. In fact, competition is much older than civilization. Competition is the whole world as we know it. The living universe is based on competition, okay? And it's the competition of species that created the human beings, yes? It's competition between species, but people, I think, do not understand competition really to this day. Let me, I think that the first time that competition was really understood is in the Talmud, or they had an inkling of it, let's put it that way. There's a story in the Talmud about the Talmud says inspectors have to be appointed to oversee weights and measures. Okay, so the people in the market who have scales, weights and measures, a measure or a weight to weigh things, yeah, that these are honest, okay? You have to have honest weights and measures. But the Talmud says, do not appoint inspectors for prices. Prices should not be controlled. They should not be inspected. And the Talmud just simply says that, yeah? And later on, 1,000 years later, one of the biblical commentators, the Rashba, says that the reason that the Talmud says that inspectors do not have to be appointed to control prices is because it's unnecessary. If somebody charges more than the market price, if somebody charges too much, then somebody else will come and will undercut him, and then the person who's charging too much will have to lower his price also. It's unnecessary. But this wasn't understood. Even later on, later than this commentator, Maimonides still says that inspectors have to be appointed to oversee prices, and they have to go around, and if somebody charges more than the price that was set, he should be beaten, yes? And this was really not understood at all. The role of competition was not understood at all until Adam Smith in the 18th century, and I think really to a large extent it's not understood today either, okay? And specifically in the field of higher education in Israel, it's not understood today. It certainly wasn't understood 100 years ago. Socialism, which was, it's a beautiful idea, right? To each according to his needs, from each according to his ability, all right? This is a beautiful idea. Who could object to that, yeah? Who could object to that? To each according to his needs, from each according to his ability. That's the motto of socialism. Well, socialism is the great failed experiment of the 20th century, yeah? Take a look at Israel. Take a look at the kibbutz, yes? What's wrong with to each according to his needs, from each according to his ability? What's wrong with that? Sounds beautiful, yeah. Well, what's wrong with it is that if I have ability, yes, assuming, Professor Talman doesn't seem to think so, but assuming that, yes, let me interrupt myself. I'm going to interrupt myself, and it's one of my weaknesses. There is something called the Association of Students of Stanford University, majoring in economics. A-S-S-U-M-E, assume. Okay. All right, okay. So assuming that I have some ability, why should, and if I have to work, yes, and my money is taken away and given to those who have needs, yes, why should I work? And why, in fact, should somebody who has needs and gets it from a socialist government, why should he work at all? Yeah? So it goes both ways. The person who has ability is not going to work. The person who has needs is also not going to work. So nobody's going to work. And that's why the great, it took how much long from the Russian Revolution until the Berlin Wall fell, about 70 years, yeah, something like that. But it is a great failure. And the name of the game is simply incentives, okay? That's what underlies all of economics, so giving the right incentives. We'll get to higher education in a moment. You want to make people want to do what you want them to do. You want the other people you want to get them to want to do what you want them to do, okay? And to each according to his ability, from each according to his needs, it takes no account of incentives whatsoever. And we've seen, we have communist governments, okay, but they're not with a socialist economy. They have a communist dictatorship. You have in Vietnam, you have in China. Okay, the government of Vietnam realized in the summer of 1985, the government of Vietnam realized that the people were starving. So it went over to a market economy. It changed from a socialist economy to a market economy, and now it's a thriving economy. And China did the same thing in 1979. I think they're backpedaling a little now. They have too much central government control, but still it's largely a market economy, and it's a big success. Let me get to higher education, specifically higher education in Israel. We had over here how many people here in this room are not from Israel? Oh, quite a few. Wonderful. Welcome to the Holy Land. Okay. So we had a strike of the non-PhD granting institutions. There are quite a few of those in Israel. There must be around 50 or 60, maybe even more. Quite a few, they're called colleges, okay, rather than universities. They distinguish, I guess there are three kinds of institutions of higher education in Israel: the universities, the colleges, and the centers, okay? It's just one of those centers, yes. Okay. So we have those three kinds. Anyway, there was a strike of the colleges. The colleges, many of them are government supported. Some of them are private. These colleges, the professors there, the teachers, they work at least twice as much as the faculty in universities. And I'm talking about hours per week, okay? I had a friend who was a professor in another interruption, okay, who was a professor at one of the universities in the United States, a mathematician, very good friend. And he was once asked by somebody, what's your teaching load, okay? How much do you have to teach? So he said, 6 hours. So he said, only 6 hours, so you can take a job in the afternoon. He was talking about 6 hours per week, and the questioner thought he was talking about 6 hours per day. So they had this strike, and they struck for more money, greater pay. And there was some public discussion about it. Many of the university faculty were very sympathetic to that, and they said we should support the teachers in the colleges who are demanding more pay. But then I think one of the most insightful of our economists in Israel, his name is Omer Moav.
He's a faculty.
He's a faculty here?
Yes.
Okay, so Omer Moav started writing articles in which he said, it's very nice to give them more money, but where does the money come from, okay? In other words, you have to think of you can't just give more money, yes? If you give more money, you have to take it from somebody. You have to increase taxes, maybe, or you have to take off from the budget of the universities or from something else, yes? You can't, and one of the reasons he mentioned in his writings that one of the reasons that there isn't enough money, that the teachers in the colleges are not getting enough is because of the pay system in Israeli universities. In Israeli universities, you get paid by rank, okay? In other words, all assistant professors, they're called lecturers over here, they all get the same pay. There's some seniority adjustment, but seniority, not ability, not success in teaching or in research. Seniority is adjusted. All associate professors get basically the same pay. All full professors get basically the same pay. And it doesn't matter whether whether you're a good teacher or a bad teacher. It doesn't matter whether you have done significant research in the last 10 years or you have not done. One way to solve this problem is to get more money into the system is by simply differential pay, as is customary in the United States. Differential pay, okay? Each person gets paid not from each according to his ability, but to each according to his ability, yes? Each person gets paid, and that gives you the incentive. It gives you the incentives to be a better teacher. It gives you the incentive to be to engage in research. If everybody gets the same, well, it's basically socialism in higher education. I think that, in fact, there's this uniformity in Israeli higher education. They all are in a, how do you say stance in English? What? What's that? Template, thank you. Yes. All the universities have the same template, yes, except for the IDC, yes. And more or less all the colleges have the same template, yes. Decide what each institution, how much money it should get, and take that money and give it to the institution and let the institution do what it wants. If it wants to give differential pay, it should give differential pay. If it doesn't want to give, that way it should not give differential pay. That way competition will come up, new ideas will come up, like in evolution, like in economics. If each institution can innovate, okay, this will. But if they're all according to the same template, which is regulated and dictated by the government, you're not going to get advances. So I think more or less that's what I want to say. Okay. What about tuition? Thank you very much. Yes. What about tuition? Well, I think one of the advances, one of the great innovations of this institution over here, IDC, is that it charges 3 times as much tuition as any other one of the universities. But God bless them for that. I mean, that's a wonderful thing. Yes, you charge. The tuition that is charged by the by the other universities is absurd. You know, what is it now? 15,000 shekels a year or something like that? Huh? What? 8,000? 10,500. Well, I mean, it's absurd. Yes, that's absurd. Yes, in other words. Charge, here again, let each 10,500 shekel, what is that? It's like $3,000 or something like that, yeah. You know what the tuition is at Stanford? I was talking about Stanford before, you know, it's like $50,000 or $60,000, yes? In other words, 20 times as much, yes? Well, not all the universities in the United States are Stanford, okay? You also have the state universities. But also there, the tuition is considerable, yes? Don't tell the universities how much tuition to charge. Let each one charge what it wants, and then it can do with the money, which it adds to its budget, what it thinks appropriate. It can institute differential pay. It can, what the tuition, the tuition is basically this absurd tuition of 10,500 shekels per year, not per month, okay? We're talking about per year. What this is, it's actually a subsidy to the rich, okay? It's because who goes to the university? Yes, it's not, it's mostly people in the upper socioeconomic levels, okay? And you are giving them these, you're subsidizing them. It's basically, it's almost nothing what they have to pay. Charge tuition, okay? Charge tuition, and then you can give milgot, how does one say it? Scholarships and fellowships and this and that. You can give all kinds of aid to these needy students. By the way, maybe I am, what's it called? I don't know what it's called in English, I've forgotten. Biting the source of my own thing, because I went to a free university, okay? And a free college, yes, I attended the City College of New York, which was at the time free. Now it's not free anymore. But I graduated from the City College of New York, and it was at the time, it's a long time ago, it was a free institution of higher learning. So, you know, maybe, I don't know, maybe Talman will disagree, but maybe there's something to be said for a place where you can go for nothing. But afterwards I went to MIT, and that certainly is very, very far from free, but I got a fellowship from that. Okay, questions or something like that? Okay.
Anyone wants to react? Question? Yes. You want to put your ear?
Yeah, I'll put my whatchamacallit back on.
Uriel, want to react? Any questions? No question? You all agree? Yeah.
I think that some differentiation is achieved by giving more money to people who get grants for the research. So even though for teaching you don't get extra money, but you do get it when you have big grants on your research.
Yeah. Okay, let me respond to that. It's true that in the American system, the budgets of the universities are, or the universities get a lot of money from grants, they charge what's it called, an overhead from the grants, a high overhead. Yeah, sometimes it's as much as 70%. Okay, from the grants, and they get a lot of money from that, and then they are able to.
Don't say it loudly. The president is here, and we want to minimize that hurrah, the overhead. Don't give them ideas.
Okay, it's too late. So it goes a lot by grants, and those are research universities. But in the United Kingdom, a lot of committees decide what the budget of a university will be, and these committees very much look at the teaching, the quality of teaching also. It's true that some of the in some of the big research universities like Harvard, yes, a professor may not teach at all. I mean, all the teaching goes to assistants and things like that. But I think ways have to be found, and have been found, to reward good teaching also. By the way, I do think that there is a correlation. It's not 100%, and maybe it's not 80%, but there is a correlation between good research and good teaching. On the whole, in many cases, let's put it that way, not 100%, you have good teachers, also good, how does one say? Researchers, okay. Why is that? Yeah, it makes sense also. I think it makes sense because a researcher, he really understands the material. He goes, and that is the important thing in teaching, okay? The important thing in teaching is the understanding and to bring across the understanding of a scientific, of a natural process, of a social process, of some text, whatever it is. Yes, if you understand it, then you can do good research on it, and you can also teach it well. Okay, more questions.
Any question? Other question? Yes. You mentioned the fellow of the kibbutzim.
Excuse
of
me?
the kibbutzim.
Kibbutz, yeah, right.
Sometimes in the life of society, what did you say about the outlook? That sometimes in the time of a society, in the life of a society, there are larger, higher values than the incentive. All of us who went to the kibbutzim, and we had about 170 kibbutzim in 48. The kibbutzim gave nearly all the officer corps of IDF in the 50s and 60s and 67. Would you go and preach them in 1940, guys, disintegrate because you don't have an egoistic incentive to serve your people? I doubt it. I think you wouldn't. So sometimes there are exceptions.
I don't want to preach to anybody. I don't want to preach to the Soviets or to the Vietnamese or to any of these people. I don't want to preach. The fact is that not enough people are so ideologically oriented. Not enough. Not enough in China, not enough in Russia, not enough in Vietnam. Most people just want to make a living. And just a moment. The better living they make, so I think the kibbutzim were wonderful, because they really were. Yes, they were a wonderful institution, and far be it from me to preach. And I think, by the way, more and more of the who are the people who man the יחידות המובחרות? How does it say it in English? What? The selected units. In other words, the units that who are they now? Where are they now? Okay. They were in the kibbutzim, but the kibbutzim, I wouldn't tell them to disintegrate, and I'm sorry that they did disintegrate. But they did on themselves. In other words, this is something, still people do act in accordance with incentives. I don't think it's good. I think it's Yetzer hara, yes? It's Yetzer hara, the evil inclination, okay? But that's it. That's human nature. Next question.
Okay.
There's another question.
Last question.
When Professor Trachtenberg was nominated to the committee of the budget committee of higher education, I had a meeting with him on how to improve the higher academic system in Israel. And I proposed to him to privatize one university. So the government will maintain the budget that the university receives, but the university will be free to charge any tuition they want and to pay any salary they want. What would have happened in higher education in Israel if he had accepted my idea?
That's my idea. Trachtenberg. He stole my idea. Let's go ahead. Let's, okay, we'll call this the Trachtenberg Initiative, okay?
I'm not sure it's...
Or your initiative. Wait, what's his name? Melnick. The Melnick Initiative, that's it. Okay, thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen.
I definitely would adopt the Melnick Initiative, but what he has proposed is leaving the government support for the university, and on top of it, allowing it to charge as they want or to give salary.
No, okay.
So it's a little bit different than ours.
Okay, no, so let me qualify that then. Okay, leave the government support as it is for the next X years, okay? 3, 4, 5 years. And then review it. And do this for all the institutions. And see how they're doing, okay? See how they're doing and then the institutions that are doing better, you give them more support. Those that are doing badly, give them less support. All right.
No, it's a wonderful feeling that one of the great academic leaders of Israel, coming from a subsidized university, is coming to IDC and is telling us that we are doing the right thing. Thank you very much.